Dear students, good morning. I am Dr. P.S. Kaushik, Principal at Sri Digambar Institute of Technology, Dausa, Rajasthan. This is my 9th lecture on the subject Engineering Mechanics. This subject belongs to 3rd semester of Civil and Mechanical Engineering. What we learned in the last lecture? We learned Lami's theorem. The total of 5 problems were solved based on coplanar concurrent force system and based on Lami's theorem. What Lami's theorem state? It states that if a system is acted upon by 3 coplanar concurrent forces and system is in static equilibrium, then there is a relation between the force and the sign of the angle made by other two forces. For example, if these are 3 forces, say making angle alpha, beta and gamma, forces are P, Q and R, then the relationship between these forces and the angles is R upon sine beta equal to P upon sine gamma and Q upon sine alpha. This is the relation. Basically, it is the sine rule, and the important point to note is that if the system is in under static equilibrium, then the triangle made by the graphical presentation of these forces will get close. Now, in this lecture, we are going to understand the concept of moment, then principle of moment, then Varian theorem, then various types of beams, types of load, and the types of supports on the beam. First, moment. The turning effect of a force is called moment. Mathematically, moment M is equal to force into vertical distance. Hence, its unit becomes Newton meter. Now, refer to this figure. There is an arm called moment arm. This is the moment arm. This is a moment center. And this is a force acting on it, that is F. Now, we defined that it is the force into perpendicular distance from the moment center on the line of action of that force. So, we just extend this line backward and draw a perpendicular. This is 90 degree. If this is D, then M equal to F into D by definition. But D is unknown. D is unknown. So to know it, we will make the use of this angle alpha and the moment arm X. Okay. The opposing angle, this angle is also alpha, as we know. Then this D becomes X sine alpha, because this is base, this is hypotenuse, this is base, ये हाइट हो गई, ये इसका hypotenuse हो गया, then sin x sin alpha is the height upon hypotenuse. So, by definition, m equal to x into f sin alpha, or m is equal to f into x sin alpha. We can formulate this the other way also. Just divide this force into its horizontal and vertical components. This is your f cos alpha, this is your f sin alpha. Then take the moment of f cos alpha about moment center. It will be 0 because the vertical distance of the line of action is 0 of f cos alpha, because this is passing through the moment center. And then take the moment of vertical component, that is f sin alpha into x. You must again remember that moment is the force into vertical distance on the line of action of the force from the moment center. If it could have been a force like this, then we should extend the line and then draw perpendicular, then this is D. If this force is acting like this, here, like this, then and draw vertical, then this will be your D. D into F will be M. So, I think I am clear now. Let us proceed further now. Next comes the principle of moment. Okay, let us come back again. Something is left now. This is the force. By definition, the turning effect. Turning effect means rotation in the counterclockwise above due to this force. This is M, shown here like this. In this, what it does, it gives the rotation to this arm. This moment basically is of two types. That is moment, that is bending moment, and turning moment. Turning moment. Now, how to exemplify it? Take a scale in your hand. Just hold it flat in one hand and try to press from the center. Take this. This is your scale. When you try to force it from center, it gets bent like this. It is getting, this effect is bending effect. It will try to get bent. It is a bending effect. Now again, hold this flat like this and try to push it from one corner like this. Then it will give a rotary effect as well as a bending effect. This rotary effect is called torque, and this bending effect, is called bending moment. Rotary effect, torque or turning moment, and this bending effect is called bending moment. Both have same unit, Newton meter. One is giving a twisting, one is giving a bend. Both are important from subject point of view. We will be discussing them in more detail when we will be dealing the strength of material part. That is the last unit of the subject. Now comes the principle of moment. Principle moment, what it states? It states that if a system of forces, say coplanar and concurrent forces, are acting on a body, then and when body is in state of static equilibrium, then the moments of forces we are causing by counterclockwise moment will be equal to the moment of the sum of the moments of the forces which are giving a clockwise moment. For example, let us take this. This is a cantilever beam, and this is acted upon by this force and this force giving a, and one force like this and this. Two forces are giving a clockwise moment and other two forces are giving a counterclockwise moment. If this system is in static equilibrium, then summation m clockwise will be equal to summation m anticlockwise. Again, summation m anticlockwise is equal to summation m clockwise. This is the principle of moment. Again, if a system of forces is acted upon a body and this system forces is coplanar and non-concurrent, then and body is in static equilibrium, then the first two conditions are automatically established, that summation f horizontal equal to 0, summation f vertical equal. The summation of vertical forces is equal to 0, summation of the horizontal forces is also equal to 0. Now one is left, that moment, that is moment of the forces. The summation of clockwise moments is equal to summation of anti-clockwise moment. This is called principle of moment. I think I am clear now. Now let me proceed on the next, that is Varegrantham. Varegrantham, very important. It will be used in every sphere of engineering when we are analyzing something. I was just astonished when one of my colleague was taking a lecture on flip-flop circuit, and then there he multiplied the distance with the strength of the signals and carried out the resultant based on this principle of moment. When you are finding a center of gravity, centroid, you will be using this principle of moment. This is basically lever rule. But Varegrantham will be used in every sphere of your engineering whenever you read it. So very important, just try to understand it. If a body is acted upon by a system of forces, then moment of these forces about a defined moment center. If you have chosen a moment center, the moment of sum of the moment of the individual forces about that moment center will be equal to the moment of their resultant about the same moment center. For example, if we have four forces, say let us prove it like this. If we have here, this is the I have kept a blank slide for explaining something. Okay. Let us see that this is a arm and this is a point A, about which we have to choose the and it is acted upon by force say F1 at a distance x1, then F2 at a distance x2, then F3 at a distance x3. Then their moment about this A will be, sum of the moment will be F1 x1 plus F2 x2 plus F3 x3. I have chosen a vertical forces only because of that you will be able to get a feel with a little bit effort only. Then if say it is the resultant R, which is at a distance of say x, then it will be proved. It is proved that it will be equal to x into R. That is the moment of resultant. It means summation of moment of force components will be equal to moment of their resultant. This is called Varignon-Thorne. I will try to prove it in some other lecture, not now because the proof is a bit cumbersome. You may get confused. So when you come across a number of problems and you get a feel about Varignon-Thorne, then one day I will make a proof for this. Now, till now we have, because from the subject point of view, we know that we have two force systems in our syllabus, that is coplanar concurrent force system and coplanar non-concurrent force system, and so we will remain within these two force system only. The general conditions of equilibrium: first, coplanar concurrent force system, because there will be no moment due to the concurrency condition, so that criteria is eliminated in this, and the condition of static equilibrium are summation F horizontal is equal to 0, summation F vertical is 0. Note here, graphically the force polygon, that is force vector diagram, must close if coplanar concurrent force system is in a equilibrium condition. How it is drawn? Say there is a force system making an angle. This is beta angle, this is gamma angle, and this is alpha angle. This is force A, this is B force, and this is C force. how we draw this triangular diagram, that is vector diagram? First, proceed, take on scale the magnitude of these forces. First, on scale, choose a point. We have chosen this point here, and draw a line equal to the magnitude of A, parallel to the force A, this way. Then from the arrowhead, draw another line magnitude equal to the magnitude of B, like this. If you want to, then the third force will be this way. Now understand that this force is a resultant of force A and force B, that force C. But since body is under static equilibrium, go to my third lecture in which I defined equilibriant. And what I told you, the equilibriant is a force which is equal to the resistance, that is equal to the resultant on the same line of action but opposite in the direction. So its direction will not be as shown in this figure, but it will be like this. Mistakenly I have shown this way, but this direction will be this way. So this force C is equilibriant of force B and force A. That's why this system is in static equilibrium. Again, this is the result. This is wrongly I made it the diagram. This arrow should have been this way, because this force A, this force B, and this force C. This force C, if arrow is like this, then it is the resultant of B and A, force A and force B. But the system is under coplanar concurrent force system is under static equilibrium. Hence, its direction will be this way. It means this arrow should have been here. Then this force C is equivalent for force A and force B. Force A is equivalent for force B and force C, and force C is equivalent for force A and force B, and so like this. Now, coplanar non-concurrent force system. As I told you earlier in the third lecture, that if any of the force is not passing to the point of concurrency, then system will automatically get converted into non-concurrent force system. Here, this F5 force is not passing to it is concurrent with force F2 at this point, for F1 at this point, but it is not getting concurrent with the common point this. So this system is coplanar non-concurrent force system. Now, the conditions of static equilibrium here, because if I choose this moment center, then the moment of these four forces F1, F2, F3, F4 will be 0 about this point, but there will be a moment of F5 about this center. Hence, for the conditions to be static equilibrium, the third condition is to be that summation m equal to 0. That is, counterclockwise moment should be equal to clockwise moment. This condition is again to be added in this. Thus note it, the condition summation f h equal to 0 and summation f p equal to 0 ensures that system does not reduce to a single force, whereas summation m is equal to 0 ensures that the system does not reduce to a couple. Now, next important problem is beam. What is beam? You, you might have come across when you are entering in a building, or on your head you are finding a beam. Beam is a structural member kept horizontally along its length, and the forces are applied across its length, that is perpendicular to its length or perpendicular to the longitudinal axis or polar axis. You can say anything. You might have seen in your households there is a building that the beams are kept over pillars. These are rectangular beams. So beam is a structural member which will be subjected to shear force and bending moment. If we neglect the weight of the beam, then because of the load acting on it, it will be subjected to the shear force and the bending moment, not turning moment, because we are applying the force at the across to the axis of the longitudinal axis of the beam. Across means perpendicular to the axis. Okay. Now, type of beams. This is the cantilever beam. You might have you in your house, in your almirah, a bracket which is fixed at the wall and one end is free. This is called cantilever. Other one is simply supported beam. Here one end is hinged and the other end is roller supported. This is the roller support, this is the hinge support. Hinge support means you can say this is the hinge, a lever, and a beam is kept under this, so that this beam can move this way, but this cannot move like this. Means there will be not be any moment, a resisting moment like this. It will, if you try to push it like this, it will get lifted. If you push it like this, it will get, if roller is removed. Then this is because of the hinge joint or pinned joint. We also call it a pin joint. This is the roller support. Why it is done? As a civil engineer or as a mechanical engineer, you will come to know that when you go across any railway bridge or this road bridge, flyovers, you will find a lot of beams, but they are kept on some cement circular structure, which we call it is simply supported and kept on a frictionless support, so that it can, because of due to thermal coefficient of expansion, it can have this vibe moment. When hot weather, it will expand and there will be a little moment like this. When it is in cool, then it will get shrink because of coefficient of thermal expansion or contraction. Then in that condition, this beam will slightly move like this. So this to manage this thermal expansion and contraction, you will also find that there is a gap on the bridge where there charcoal is filled in that. This is only because we want to take into consideration the thermal coefficient, thermal expansion and contraction. Then this is the simple overhanging beam. Overhanging means they take a look here. This beam is ending here. This beam is, but this beam is going beyond it. So load can be applied here also. That's why we call it overhanging load beam. This is continuous beam. If supports are more than 2, here there are total 4 supports, then this beam is called continuous beam. Here fixed beam. Here this end and this end both are fixed. Here it was hinged, here it was rolled, but here fixed in the wall. you find in the buildings, both ends are fixed on the beam. This is propped beam. This one is here, propped beam. You might have seen in your life sometimes when there is a cantilever beam of bracket which is getting deflected downward. Then what we do, we take a rod and just give a support at the here. This support is called prop, and the beam is called propped beam. A cantilever beam at the free end side, if you are giving a support it, then that support is called prop, and the beam is called propped beam. I think I am clear now. Okay. Types of support again. Fixed support. This is a fixed support. This is the fixed support. This is the hinge support. This is the roller support. And this beam is called propped beam. Cantilever with a support here will be called a propped beam, and this support, the roller support, will be called as propped prop. Now, statically indeterminate beam. This prop beam is statically indeterminate. Statically indeterminate means वो beam for which we cannot give a complete solution with the use of coplanar non-concurrent force system, that is conditions of static equilibrium for coplanar non-concurrent force system. That is summation Fx is equal to 0. And summation m equal to 0. These three conditions are not sufficient to have a complete solution of this beam. Here we have to use the deflection also of the beam, which is beyond the scope of your syllabus. That will be discussed when you are going strength of material in the next semester. Now comes a type of loading. Types of loading. Here we have, until now we have discussed about the type of support, that is hinge support, roller support, and a fixed support. Support. Now we will come to know the type of load. Generally, loads are point load applied at a point, or we have distributed the load evenly like this, or we have given a triangular loading like this. You keep a load anywhere in any position. When we analyze it closely, we can find out that there is a point load like this, or there will be a load like this. This will be uniformly distributed load, this one, or there will be a load. This load is getting varied as per length in double. Here it will be as let weight no unit load Newton per meter, like this. This is called UVL, uniformly varying load, and this is called UDL, uniformly distributed load, and this is called point load. Now let us have one problem based on the coplanar non-concurrent force system and find out the resultant, its angle of inclination and its line of action from the reference point. In this problem we will be finding out the resultant magnitude, its line of action and its point of application and its direction as reference to point A. Here in this problem there is a horizontal line ABCD measuring 9 meter and is acted upon by forces of magnitude 400 Newton, 600 Newton, 400 Newton and 200 Newton at points A, B, C and D respectively. A, B, C and D respectively. With downward direction, these points are also located at A. That AB is equal to BC is equal to CD is equal to 3 meter. The line of action of the forces are inclined at 90 degrees, 60 degrees, 45 degrees, 30 degrees respectively with AB. Make calculation for the magnitude, position, direction of the resultant. That is magnitude, line of action, direction and point of application. As we from the very second lecture when we defined force, I was telling that force will be completely defined when these four variables are defined clearly. Otherwise will be no use of that force, because it will not give the proper result. There will be wrong calculations if you are not knowing all these four parameters. Here, first of all, what we do, we resolve the forces, these forces horizontally and vertically. Horizontally means this force F, that is D force, इसे आएंगे 200 Newton. It has two components, the vertical component and horizontal component. This is your 200 sin 30, this 200 cos 30. Similarly for others, and make a summation of all horizontal components, that is 200 cos 30 plus 400 cos 45 plus 600 cos 60 plus 400 cos 90, and you know cos 90 is 0, so there will be no horizontal component for this force. Then the summation gives you 756 Newton for the horizontal part, this part. This slide was kept for making some calculations that I have made it earlier. Now summation vertical component of these forces, that is 200 sin 30, 400 cos sin 45, 600 that is, now resolving it gives you 200 sin 30 plus 400 sin 45 plus 600 sin 60 plus 400 sin 90. As we know, this its horizontal component is 0, sin 90 is 1 or cos 90 is 0. Then using Pythagoras form, we can find the resultant by using this formula, which comes out to be, that is 1505, that is 1505.9 Newton. Now let the resultant makes an angle alpha with horizontal. Then with that tan alpha will be summation Fv upon summation Fh. Which comes out to be 1.723. Then alpha will be tan inverse 1.723, which comes out to 59.87. Now the important problem, which we have not yet calculated, is the distance of point of application from the reference point A. Here we are going to make use of the principle of moment. As I have told you earlier, okay. That this is the line AB. One force is here, other one is here, next one is here, and last one is here. This 30 degree, 60 degree, 45 degree and 60 degree. 60, 45 and 30. Okay. Now, when we resolve these forces horizontally and vertically, the horizontal component of the force is a line of action of horizontal component of these forces is passing through the point of reference. So their moment about this point will be 0. As you know, moment is equal to force into vertical distance on the line of action. Line of action is passing through this, so their force component moment is 0. Only we are left with the vertical components. And this force being vertical also, it is also passing through the point A. So the moment of this force will also be 0. So we are left with this component force, this component of force, this component force. Let the resultant is then what I told you, what Wagner-Thom defines, that the moment of the resultant will be equal to the sum of the moment of the component forces, whose resultant we have found out. So, coming back to the main topic, here the resultant is how much? 1505.9, but because we have excluded the horizontal component, so because horizontal component is passing through the point A, we have excluded it. So we have taken only vertical component, that is summation FV, that is 1305.4 Newton. So 1305.4 into X. Let it is passing through this point. This distance is X. So 1302.4 into X is equal to 600 sin 90 into 3. This distance is 3. Then 400 sin 45 into 6. This distance is 6. Then 200 sin 30 into 9. This distance is 9. And the total comes out to 4155.9 Newton meter. This is Newton meter. Okay. Then X will be 14155.9 upon 1302.4, that is 3.191. It means the resultant will pass somewhere here. This distance will be this much. The angle will be around 59.87. Means this will be the line of action of the resultant. This angle will be, that is this angle will be 59.87 degree. It will be passing through this way, and this distance will be 3.191, around 3.2. Okay, from the reference point A. I think we are very clear now. Other way of this finding the solution would have been that take the complete, that is summation है इसको लेकर के, then we could have find out the distance again also. But we have simplified the problem because we have reduced the calculation by eliminating the horizontal component of the force, because it was passing through the point of reference. Now determine the reaction at A and B. See here, this is the hinge support, this is the roller support. This load is uniformly distributed load. This is the point load, this is the point load. This is a overhanging beam. This is the overhanging beam. One side overhanging, this side is overhanging by 3 meter. Total length of beam is 9 meter, out of which 3 meter is overhanging. One of the simple example of overhanging, you can find any truck or bus. Normally front wheels are just in front of the chassis, whereas the rear wheels are far ahead of the rear, around 4 to 5 meters ahead in the buses and trucks. So it is overhanging at the back side, whereas it is not overhanging at the front side. You can see this way also. If we say this is a truck or bus, here is the rear wheels, this is the front wheels. You will find that this much is overhanging. So come to the basic topic of the problem. First of all, we have to convert this uniformly distributed load into point load. And you find that this hinge joint means it is having a bracket like this, which will have a hole like this, and another bracket here like this, there will be a shaft across it, and a beam will be just getting across it like this. Here you will have a roller support as shown in the figure, but here there will be a throughout pin from here to here, and this will be fastened here by a nut bolt or some clip. So this beam cannot have this moment, but it can have this moment. Here you will have a vertical reaction, you will have a horizontal reaction. If it is pulled by like this, it is pushed like this, because it is a roller, though there will be no reaction here. Here there will be no reaction, but there will be a reaction or opposing force generated at this point here. Yeah. Okay. Similarly, when load is acting from top, there will be a reaction from the bottom side to counter that load. So now this is a 10 kilonewton per meter UDL. Total distance is 3 meter. It means 10 kilonewton per meter distance. If we divide this in 3 parts, this beam, then 10 kilonewton plus 10 kilonewton plus 10 kilonewton, total 30 kilonewton. Where it will be acting? It will be acting the center of gravity or centroid part of this part. Where is centroid? It will be in the center here. This is 1.5 meter. So this is 1.5 meter. This is a point load. It will be acting at the same point. This will be acting at the same point. This is the reaction here. This will be here only, and this is the center here. This hinge joint will be having 2 reactions. That is RAH. This is RAH. This RAV. And this will be the resultant of this and this resultant will be like this, which will be found out by squaring these two, adding and then making under root. We will find the resultant or reaction at point A. So first step was to convert the UDL into a point load. We have converted 30 kilonewton into a point load like this, which is acting at a central part, centroid or center of gravity here, that is 1.5 meter. So now reactions RAH, RAV, RB can be evaluated by applying the conditions of equilibrium, that is summation m equal to 0, summation f v equal to 0, and summation f h equal to 0. Then horizontal component 0, vertical component 0, and moment 0. Taking moment about A and equating it to 0. That is 10 into 2 plus 20 into 4 plus RB into B, that is 6, 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6, plus 30 into 7.5. How? First of all, we have taken the moment because we want to find out the support reaction here. Support reaction. For that, first calculate the horizontal components. There is no horizontal component, so summation f h will be 0. Implies that R A horizontal will be 0. Now summation f vertical find out करने के लिए R A vertical plus RB equal to 10 plus 20 plus 30 equal to 60. This is your equation first. Again, summation f vertical equal to J implies that this type bowing forces will be equal to this way forces. Implies that R A vertical plus R B, it will be vertical only, but for your convenience I am writing a vertical, equal to downward going forces, that is 10 plus 20 plus 30. So RAV plus RBV equal to 60. Equation comes out to be R A vertical plus RB equal to 60. This is your first equation. Similar, now take the moment about A of the known and unknown forces. Here, moment of this force, which will be equal to RB into 6, and its effect will be counterclockwise. Other forces, that is 10 into 2 clockwise, 20 into 4 clockwise, 30 into 7.5, that is 30 into 7.5, that is 20 into 4, this is 10 into 2. All are clockwise. Add them and equate with the unknown counterclockwise moment, which gives you RB into 6 equal to summation of all these three forces. moments, and on calculation it will be giving you this. Further, which give you RB 54.17 and RAV comes out to be 5.83 here. That's it from this lecture. If you find it interesting, then give a feedback on drpskosik@gmail.com. Next time I will be dealing with more problems and more concepts, because if you are clear in concepts, then mechanics will be very interesting for you, and it will give you a lot of pleasure when you are going for higher studies and in the next semesters. Thanks for watching. Thank you.